So how are you this morning, Ruth? I know there are some challenges, but we got through it.
We did. Just getting connected was the challenge. And
Yeah,
yeah, that's the way it goes.
that's right.
Good morning to you.
Well, good morning, and thank you so much, Ruth, for being on the author's table. I'm glad that you're here.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, and it's glad to actually you smile there and stuff, and not just hearing your voice. So that's wonderful.
Yeah. I
Oh,
have my little helpers in here. It may be a challenge. Let me see if I can show her to you real quick.
okay, sure.
This is Bill Pepper,
Oh, I
and
heard
she is obsessed with her ball.
I
So,
heard your little helper earlier. Aw, that's cute.
well, she's going to be making me anyway.
Yeah,
We're
it's
going to move
okay.
forward.
So now, Ruth, as a writer, do you have a certain style?
I do.
You do.
I've been writing all my life, and yes, you develop your own voice, and the longer you write, the more distinctive your voice is.
There you go.
So
That's
yeah,
true. Yes, very good.
I
Yeah.
try to. My style is easy to read, fast paced, and uh, I try to make it entertaining and enjoyable,
Sure.
and not old. You know,
That's correct.
try to
Yes.
make it all, of course.
Yeah, that's right. Now, from your well-diverse background, now,
Yes.
in one word, what describes you?
Oh, that's not fair. Let's see what describes me.
See, that's
Um,
another challenge for you this morning.
Goofy. How
Goofy.
about goofy?
Okay, hey, that's perfect. Now,
I think that's the way I may come across to people
okay,
sometimes.
hey, that's what makes you unique. Now what was your motivation in getting the wheels turning to write your first book?
Well, as I said, I've been writing for all my life, basically. I did a lot of freelance work,
Hmm.
I did anything to get paid doing writing. My first book, I'm not actually sure which it is. I think it was, are we talking about novels, fictions, or my first book?
Your very first book.
Well, I think that would be an Arkansas history book for children.
Oh,
And I wrote that. I don't know if I have a copy of it anymore. It was in the schools for 10 years, two textbook cycles. And of course, I'm not a historian, but my children were in school at the time and they weren't getting any Arkansas history, so I wrote one. And I worked
that's
with a lot of interesting historians to get the information accurate.
oh,
So
that
it was
is
really
awesome.
beautiful.
That
Yeah,
felt good too, didn't it?
it was a great pleasure. Yes.
Yeah, there's nothing like writing your very first book and then actually seeing it for the first time in your hands.
Yes.
It's that just there's no words for it. It's just seeing this is what I did,
Yes.
and that's really a good feeling. Now, in your process of writing your first book,
Hmm.
now how did you plan like your target audience, your cover design, and that kind of how what did you what steps did you go through?
Well, I worked with a small publisher and I kind of chose the cover design. I worked with a graphic artist that I knew well and was a good professional. So Richard Despain is a pen and ink historical
Hmm.
illustrator. And so I wish I had a copy of that. I didn't know we were going to talk about that. But anyway, so, I kind of did the whole design myself, which I do with my fiction books too. So my novels. But yeah, we just worked it through it, and I'm very visual as well, so
Yes.
it was fun, and
Now,
it's a beautiful cover, if I do
now,
say so myself.
yeah, good. Now, going through that whole process, you learn a lot.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
And I think that's where a lot of new authors, especially when they go through those steps, they don't realize it's not just writing something.
oh no, oh no.
There's
Well,
so
I was
much.
everything led me in that direction because I worked as a freelancer in marketing and journalism, and I worked with graphic artists putting together publications, and that was all part of my experience
Yes,
before.
that's wonderful. Now, are you a self-publisher or do you have a publisher, Ruth?
Currently, my novels are self-published. Excuse me, and I love it.
Yeah, there's nothing like have yeah.
Pardon me?
there's nothing like having the control, of you.
Yes, I'll show you.
Oh,
This beautiful cover is done by a local artist.
nice, very nice.
Winds of Mirth is done by a local artist who's getting regionally famous. And yeah,
And that's making you famous, right, Ruth?
it's not about fame, it's about connection to the readers.
That's exactly it, right there. Yes.
In
Now,
fact,
go ahead, Ruth. Go ahead.
I'm just going to quote John Cheever. I just came across this quote recently, and it was I can't be a writer without readers. It's like a kiss.
That's right.
That nails it, right? The
That's it.
connection to the readers. That's what it's
Unless
all about.
unless you like kissing yourself, but that's not going to take you nowhere, right?
No.
Yeah. Now let's talk. Now your first novel is called White Oak, a steamy tale of love and seduction. Now this setting is in the White Oak in the a town called White Oak in the
Uh-huh.
Ozarks.
Uh-huh.
So let's
I
talk about
actually
that.
live in Eureka Springs, and that
Oh,
book is set in Eureka Springs. Only I called it White Oak. And
okay.
I used to visit here. I've visited here for decades, and then we finally moved here about 5 years ago. So yes, that was the first novel.
So like when you were going through that process of writing that, is it based on where you were then?
It was based on my fascination for a place that I did not live at yet.
Okay.
So
All right.
yes, the Ozarks are beautiful. I hate to leave the Ozarks anymore.
Yeah.
It's a great place to live.
now now like when you were writing it, like did you take like inspiration from little bits and pieces and then put it together? So what was your process?
Oh well, if you've never been to Eureka Springs, let me explain it. It's like it's filled with characters. Just you walk down the street and there's characters. You go to the grocery store and there's characters.
Like Mayberry?
There, no,
No.
like no, not like that at all. Kind of flamboyant, imaginative outfits.
Oh,
It's just crazy. And there's an influx of well educated people from all over the world. Um, this artist actually was born and raised in South Africa, lives here now. Um, so we have this wonderful mix of acceptance and creativity. We have tons of artists and writers, and there's other places in the country I'm sure I could compare it to that maybe like North Asheville or something like that.
sure. Hmm.
Yeah, so it's a small town, but it's filled with the delicacies of life.
That is cool though, isn't it? I mean, you can learn
It
so
is. I
much.
love it. We love it.
And I think too, even like people watching, you can learn so much,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
And and I think that's so cool too cuz I'm in advertising and graphic design, so the visual,
Yeah.
I mean you can just the sky's the limit.
Yep.
How you want to write and all that creativity. And I love that cuz I'm visual myself. So and so yeah, I understand where you're coming from with that.
So you were asking about my writing style.
Yes.
I've had readers say it's like watching a movie, and that is the biggest compliment I can get because I visualized it. I shared my
Yes.
vision with them, so
Yeah.
that's really neat.
And I think that's cool because that connection with the reader, as
Uh
you're
huh.
when you're putting it together and they're reading it, they're putting themselves in that scene, and that's I think where it really captivates their audience. It's like
Yeah.
watching the movie. It's you
Mhm.
got their attention, and then you're just walking them right through what you wrote about.
Yeah.
I think that's
And
awesome.
so, and I fill my stories, especially my fantasy stories, with lots of fun characters. The book I'm just completing, I never thought I'd write a series,
Mm.
but this is book one of three books. I'm finishing Jaxel Warrior Princess. It will have a cover by this artist, and she is so amazing. Amazing. She's not who I am. She's who I want to be.
There you go.
She's so
Yeah.
eccentric and powerful and full of herself. It's great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, living happy, joyous, and free.
Uh huh.
Now, that's a handbook for those that are torn and with critical decisions in like someone's life. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
That book came about through my experience with family members that had alcoholism. I grew up in an alcoholic home, a wonderful home, but it's just riddled with alcoholism. So I wrote these articles for a newspaper called One Day at a Time, and it was kind of a self-help. I try to interject humor and hope and all that. And so I compiled. People kept. It was so popular. I compiled them into a book, and then had to compile them into a hard copy because they were just, it's just an ebook. And people said, no, I want a book I can hold and hold
Hmm.
on to. And so
Yes.
it's been pretty successful.
Oh, that's awesome.
And a lot of people, that's what's important.
Especially putting into a hardcover.
Yes.
That's awesome too.
Yeah.
Because I even thought about doing that with some of my books, and because that's a different technique instead of just a paperback. People
Oh,
could.
it's not. I'm sorry. To me, a paperback is a hardcover.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's not a hard book. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Actually, I've never published a hardbound book because
okay, okay.
I'm of the electronic age, oddly enough.
Well, yeah,
I like to read on a Kindle. That's weird. I know. People like to hold and touch and smell the book. I do too, but I love my Kindle.
yeah, and
Mhm.
I think the audience is sort of like half and half. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know the ones that like to travel and so on, they take their Kindles or their iPads or whatever, and then the
Mhm.
ones that like to just hold that book and just you know. But
I get both of those. I
that's
get
awesome.
it.
You got the best of both worlds.
I love a good library book that's kind of tattered, and you think, well, how many hundreds of people have read this book and touched this book?
Yeah,
I like that.
yeah. Now, so Ruth, now do you believe in ghosts? Now, now,
Yes.
now this novel is called Beyond: A Tale of Discovery on the Other Side of Life. Now,
Hmm.
so let's talk about Laura Haskell.
Okay.
So yeah, go ahead, Ruth.
Well, what about her? What do you want to know about her?
So she's one of your main characters.
Yes, she
So,
is the protagonist, female
yeah.
protagonist.
So can you talk a little bit about her and what does she experience?
Well, she inherited this boutique hotel in San Francisco from her grandmother, who was a madam, a famous madam in
Hmm.
San Francisco. And the old historic hotel is full of ghosts. So Laura's kind of this boozy author, and she has this, she's at the point where she needs to sober up. And she has this dog, Cloud, who in my mind is the hero of the story. He's the real protagonist. But anyway, we can hear his thoughts, and there's a fancy word for that. I think I can pull it up. Anthropomorphic.
Uh, Okay,
We can
sure.
hear his thoughts, and he's adorable. He's real wise and kind of snide, and he's got his own view of the world. And so we get into his thoughts, and then so there's ghosts in this hotel, and they actually promote the hotel for having ghosts, but nobody can prove it, right? So, but Cloud can see the ghosts, and as it turns out, Laura, while she's in New York visiting her publisher, meets this really dreamy um, Scottish accent guy, and they get together and fall in love. And he's a ghost expert, so he comes to her hotel, and they're he's on the cusp of discovery, and using a genius tech guy, they build the software that where they can see the ghosts, but they see the ghosts through dogs with the things you have on your head,
Oh, these
and
things right here.
the dog projects the vision on the screen, on the computer screen, shares his sight, and
Oh,
there's this other dog involved that they bring in, and it's just a crazy story, and I love it.
that is awesome. I
Yeah.
like that.
I
Yeah,
don't think we're that far from doing that.
we probably are doing it, but it's not advertised.
You know, I'm no scientist, but there's something about alternate realities and stuff
Oh,
like that.
sure. Yes.
What is it? Quantum physics? Yeah, quantum physics that kind of describes the possibility of ghosts.
So
Anyway,
are you ahead of your time, Ruth?
of course.
That's right. That's great. That's awesome. Now let's now correct me if I say this wrong.
Hmm.
So is it Ada? Adia? Ada?
Well, my computer pronounces Ija.
Ija. Ah.
And it's the reader's option. I'm in a writing group, and I often make up these words, and I go, "I'm sorry, guys, but I'm not sure how to pronounce this," and they laugh. So I let the computer kind of lead me sometimes. Sometimes I don't like the way the computer says it because I use that talking computer to
Yes.
read the story back to me. It really helps a lot.
Yes. Yes. Now it's called Two Moons of Mirth, and that's your latest novel, a
Yeah.
mythic tale of the royal Carta family. Now
Hmm.
that's a fantasy novel.
Yes.
So would you like to talk about that one? I like that one.
Well, um, fantasy right now is very appealing to me. Our world is so unbelievably, I would never have imagined where we are in our world. And
Mm-hmm.
it's frightening.
Mm-hmm.
So, myself and a lot of other people want to escape into fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'll hold it up one more time because I
I
love
love
it. You
that. Yeah.
know. Oops, I need to throw the ball for the kid. For the kid, I can't find it. She's growling at me.
She likes it
So
too.
she likes, yeah, she likes it. Actually, she likes my husband even better than me, which is
Oh.
very. But going back to the Minutes of Mirth, um, it's about taking some of our struggles, like feminism. It's about feminine power, and taking those struggles where I cannot believe we've gone so backward. All the feminism movement of 40 and 50 years ago is like wiped off, and we're just being completely. God, it's so
That's
hard
okay.
to understand.
That's
See,
okay.
that's where Goofy comes in.
That's
I might have to sit with Goofy
okay.
on it the other day, but today I feel very goofy. So it's about feminism. It's about taking the issues we have here on Earth and placing them on Mirth. And I love that word because
Mirth.
Mirth, 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 Earth. And so that was very intentional. So this family evolves through the story, and the woman Aja starts out as a peasant girl. It's a little bit of a Cinderella story. It's got
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of elements of different um, archetypes. Is that how you pronounce it?
But yours is unique as well, though. That's good.
Yeah, yeah. So I never thought I would write a series, but bam, halfway into this book, I went, there's 3 books here. And I love these characters and I'm going for it. So, because I thought it was boring to write a series or read a series. Actually, I've read several series, but
But
people love series.
absolutely. The biggest thing too is the characters in the book. They relate to the characters, and then the
Yes.
characters. I mean, here's an example. Like, well, look at Disney, right?
Mm-hmm.
All their characters.
Mm-hmm.
They love the characters, and the characters can take them anywhere.
Yes.
And so you have characters in all your books. So let's say, for example, you wanted to maybe touch on merchandising. People
Mm-hmm.
that you love your books, they follow you, and then
Mm-hmm.
next thing you know, it's say, okay, that you have let's say a shirt with the character on it.
I love your thinking.
Well, I mean, because you can take that in any direction you want, and because you can get a feel of how your books sell, and people and feedback, and
Yeah.
and and let's say they really love this character in your novel. Are you going to write any more? So there's your key right there. There's
Yeah.
one. So let's say
Mm-hmm.
you create a shirt, put it on your website, and say,
Uh-huh.
okay, you let's say you buy a book, you get the shirt half off. I mean,
I love it.
there's so many
You and
things.
I need to talk after
That's
this
right.
interview.
That's right. And the
I
thing,
love it because,
yeah,
yeah,
because marketing is, I think, the key for an author. It's not just your books,
no,
because
you
it
need
can
to get
take.
get it to the reader.
That's right.
It's yeah, you need to
Because
get it to the.
because the readers are going to take you to that next level.
So this is really sad. I used to have a website that I created called buyoutsidethebox.com,
Hmm.
and I sold art and handmade things, and it was wonderful for a couple of years. And then there was sort of that economic crash, and
Yes.
I just said, "Oh, I'm sick of this." So, so now I should have a newsletter. I should have an author's website. I should be selling my books on my website. All those shoulds I should be doing, which I'm not. So I use Amazon, my Amazon author page as my website. I know that's wrong in so many
Well,
ways, but that's
there's
my current.
there's a reason for everything, though. But you can get back to what you were doing, but it just takes time. I mean, you just things happen. So, it's not necessarily you're off course. It's just that right now this is what you're doing. So it could be a good time to reflect, just think about, okay, what should I do next, and then focus on that. It's not everything is straight and narrow, you know.
Especially in my life. I love that
Oh,
wisdom, though. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
well, of
You're so
course.
right.
Well, yes.
And one of my favorite T-shirts by this artist is one of my favorite T-shirts. It's about the wonderful Supreme Court woman that passed away, and her
Oh,
Ruth, Ruth
uh,
Ginsburg.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
favorite T-shirt. So
yeah,
yeah, there we go.
yeah. See,
Next step.
yeah. I mean, it's I and it's not it's because every author, even established authors, I mean,
Yeah.
it's well, for example, let's say if Stephen King or
Yeah.
let's say he branched off on, I mean, he may though, but it's not just the book, because
Yeah.
you can cover so many areas, especially
Uh-huh.
when you have people following you because they really want to know more about you, and that's
Uh-huh.
why I do what I do with authors to help
Uh-huh.
get them out there, and I think the marketing is probably one of the biggest things that I believe that authors really need to focus on. It's not just
Hmm.
book signing events, even though it's very critical. It's a plus, websites and stuff. But what if you went into the merchandising side of it, and I don't want to get on your bad side, Ruth. But
Well, I love the idea. It's a great idea because my characters would make such wonderful T-shirts.
yeah,
And if I get a bad rap as being, you know, uh,
but
prima
you
donna,
you but you have some cool characters in your novels,
yes.
though, and
Oh,
and
wait till you read Jax, the Warrior Princess. Oh my God, she's amazing.
and too. I mean, you can focus on the younger generations too, especially the
Sure,
characters, you know,
sure.
and because
I think yeah, the younger readers will love this stuff. Yeah.
absolutely, and it's and
It's
it's
not that far off from a graphic novel. I mean, not a graphic novel. What do you call them? Cartoons. It's called a graphic novel.
yeah,
That sounds like something else, though. It sounds
that's
like
okay. We're,
something.
we're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep the graphic
Uh,
novel. All right,
oh,
so yeah,
well, let me talk briefly.
sure, absolutely.
I actually had one reviewer say, book is great for young adults, and
Mm-hmm.
it's got sex in there, but it's not graphic. It's leaves a
Right.
lot to the imagination, and which I purposely do. And I was so shocked when I read that. This is good for young adults, but it has some stuff in it that. So yeah,
It's not going to be any worse than what is out there now. So,
on the
I
commercials,
yeah,
yeah, television.
and I think though when you leave it to the imagination,
Mhm.
that's the cleanest and best way to go. You don't
It
want to get
is.
into details because you're already given, like, you don't need to do that.
No,
No,
I agree.
no.
I agree.
Now looking back at all your accomplishments as an author, now what is your biggest reward that stands out the most?
Well, what you just said was so wonderful.
Well, thank you.
That was very nice. But it's the connection to the reader when I read a review
Mm-hmm.
and they get it. Now, I don't have a lot of reviews, but they're mostly good. And occasionally there's one that they just didn't get it or they focused on something that was, inconsequential. But yes, the connection to the reader. I mean, that's what I'm all about. That's what makes me feel good. Obviously, I'm not doing this for the money. Although I understand you can make money at this.
But you're right. But it makes you feel good though. Like I was saying earlier, like when you get that first book in the
Uh-huh.
mail, say,
Yeah.
"Man, I did this."
Yeah.
You know.
It's wonderful.
Oh
Hmm.
yes, and to go out there and network is another big thing too. Is
Yeah.
this networking, talking with other readers and authors and
Hmm.
brainstorming. That's
Hmm.
that's what get the juices flowing. It's
Well, that's why I'm so fortunate. I have a small writing group, but I mean, until 5 years ago when I moved here, I never had that quality feedback from them. They're
Hmm.
also creative and wonderful and honest and encouraging, and that is really
Oh yeah.
crucial
Yes,
to
it is.
performance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for I believe for a well-established author and also a new author is
Yes.
get out there and network. You know,
Yes.
and two, and be behind your brand 100%.
Yes.
And never like say, oh, I should have did this, or no, you did what you
No.
did and you move forward and you
Mhm.
embrace it and you go out there and talk about it until nobody wants to hear it anymore. You just
Exactly. I used to interview artists for a magazine that I was editor of, and I'll just say it, At Home in Arkansas. But he said he was very well known at that point, and he actually has a painting in the Crystal Bridges
mm,
Museum in Bentonville. But he said, each painting is a step toward the next one.
that's right.
It's, all creativity builds on itself.
That's right.
And that was so wise. And I love that anyway,
Yeah.
what he said.
Because I'm an artist myself, and
Oh,
and I do a lot of oil paintings, landscaping oil
mm-hmm,
paintings,
mm-hmm,
and I think at first, you look at a blank canvas, it's like, it could be overwhelming. You think, oh man, what am I going to paint? But
uh-huh,
the sky's the limit. And then another thing, Bob Ross has said it too. There is no right or wrong.
yeah,
And it's just like poetry or anything. There's no right or wrong, you know?
that's what's so fun about creating.
That's
Yeah,
right. That's why
yeah,
I love it. I've been like that since I was little. I've always, even like with my poem books, it was the same thing. I always wrote poems even when I was little.
uh-huh.
I was always that way. So
Isn't that a special gift that you have that not everyone has? Don't you
yeah,
feel grateful for
I,
that? Yeah.
I and I think too, there's so many people out there, not necessarily being a writer, but just anything. We all have talents, we all have gifts,
Hmm.
but not everybody can find them.
Yes. Yes.
Once you tap into what you have as a gift, then you can embrace it, and then because you can be doing it your whole life and not even realize it
Yes.
until you connect. Say, oh, wait a second, that I've been doing that, all along and didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
You know, and
It's like
so
people that like to cook. I don't like to cook, but it's just
yeah,
a creative outlet for them.
that's right. Absolutely. That's yeah. You're absolutely right. Um, Now, when you set up your booth, Ruth,
Hmm.
like for an event, what's are some of the like pros and cons that you've come across, or maybe even seeing others at, you know, like what do you feel is good and what isn't?
Well, I think a very tasteful display, which I don't have, is good, that people can see from a distance and draw them towards you. One time at a local book signing, I sat next to my booth. My table was next to a lady that had a picture of Dolly Parton, like that for some reason. I think it was to promote her reading program.
Hmm.
And, you know, wow, what an eye catcher from across the room. Well, I don't
Loud,
have it. I'm
so
sorry, I just
so
don't have it.
so loud and
Yeah.
proud, huh? But
Um,
yeah. That's it right there. Yet, but something to work on.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's other things you're asking the wrong person. I'm not really very good at that. I do love to read at readings, and I'm still a little shy about it, but I know it's a good thing to do.
Yeah, so like getting in front of people is sort of like a little tricky for you, like getting in front and talking, or
It's getting easier. That's one of the reasons, going way, way, way back in my history, how I became a writer is I'm not so good um, orally, talking.
yes.
And I came from a family of people that were brilliant and then knew how to express themselves verbally. But when I started writing, it was like, oh, my brain could just sink into itself and flow. And so that kind of goes back to that. Yeah.
And
So,
there's nothing wrong with that too, because that's your comfort.
mhm.
I mean, that's your creativity where you're by yourself. You have all these thoughts and things, and then you put it to paper, and or it could be painting, could be all kinds of different outlets, but that's what
Mhm.
your strength is. But then, like, it probably would be good sometime though, just to gradually, you know, reach out, or to maybe even talk in front of, like your reading group.
Yeah, yeah.
And the
Well,
biggest thing too is like I remember, like, speech and debate, or like your speech class. When you get in front of the class, you're just like, oh man, I can't. I can't do this. But but you can. It's just that getting over that little that obstacle, and then once
life
you,
is not a dress rehearsal. We have to jump into it.
yes,
And if
and it takes time. Then
yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that. You
yeah.
know, everybody has their own pace of doing things, and that's okay. And then that's a good thing too about networking with others, because you can also have them assist you and help you get stronger. And the biggest thing too is, in like when you want to talk in front of people, or anything, is get in front of a mirror. And
Oh
that
yeah.
that's your fundamental. That'll definitely.
Well, I read Michelle Obama's memoir. I what was it called? Becoming. And she said her first big speech. She practiced and she shared it with other people, and she practiced and she practiced and she practiced. And I went, "Oh, you can practice." It never
Well,
even occurred to me.
yeah, like, practice makes perfect, right? I
Yeah,
mean, it could be whatever it is. That's You just got to keep going over and over. Then you get better.
but it's about just being yourself.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Nobody else can do that job for you.
That's right. Absolutely. It'd be nice though, wouldn't it? but
Sometimes.
yeah, but no, we I think, like your novels is standing behind your brand and being confident, and people can feel that from you when you talk to them about your books and your writing. And I think, like today, it's a good practice.
Sure.
There's no you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way.
Yeah.
It's just being yourself, getting out there, talking, and grow. That's it.
And how nice we have people like you now. In the old days, it was like three television
Oh
stations.
yeah. Yes,
Now we just have millions of
that's right.
people
That's right.
helping us get
Yeah,
out there.
the nice thing too, and I when I first started the author's table, I didn't think I'd be talking to people. I mean, from Australia and England. I mean, it's just so exciting and awesome to listen to you and to others about learning from what you do, your processes. I mean, I think it's awesome, and I enjoy it myself, and that's why I do it.
Sure.
And plus I'm an author too, so I mean, it's this is part of networking and growing too. You know.
One of the things I'd like to share with somebody that wants to maybe write but doesn't know how to begin, that's the we've touched on this. That's the biggest stumbling block is
Yeah.
putting yourself out there,
Yes.
writing something and then sharing it. And people are just clenched up like, oh no, they're going to judge me, whatever. That's the biggest obstacle to writing.
Absolutely right. That first step is the hardest.
Hmm.
Once you get past that little hump, I mean, it'll become easier and easier.
And when you think about it, the things you like to read, the best things that are out there, it's because the author was vulnerable and shared themselves.
That's right. It's like your first time when you're walking or riding a bike or swimming. Just
Hmm.
do it, and there's no right or wrong. If you fail, that's okay. If you didn't do it, that's when you fail.
Yeah. Well, that's another interesting thing you just brought up is, failure used to just
Yeah.
freeze me.
Mhm.
But I was interviewing another artist friend whom I have known for a very long time, and he was showing me some of these paintings that weren't very good. And I said, George, that's not your normal caliber of art. And he says, no, I keep them up there so I can learn from them.
Right.
So
Yes.
it was interesting. Those were his mistakes, and that was part of the creative process.
That's right. Those were probably like one of his first ones, and those were his fundamental ones that he could always relate to or go back to. And that's right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, do you have any like book signing events coming up, Ruth, or anything?
I do this spring locally. I haven't done any traveling to promote my book, which is probably another thing I need to do. But in the spring, it's local, so it's probably not worth mentioning. But
It's
it's
always
coming up.
worth mentioning.
Oh, I don't have the date and time or the
Oh,
place.
okay. Now, do you have a? You mentioned that you do not have a website.
I use my Amazon author website because that's where people are. So
Okay.
they do the work for me. Yeah.
Yes. And
So when I'm requested to put down my author website, that's what I use.
and they
It's
can
my
go to.
Amazon.
Okay, they can just go
And
to
yeah, they're at Amazon, and they can just click another button and buy.
That's
Right?
right. That's right. That's awesome. Now, you are currently working on two more books. Is that correct?
No. Um, this will be a series of 3. I finished the second book, and I have started the first book, but I need to get the second one published. I've got to do the editorial process
Sure.
and the marketing and all that for new release, which I'm learning all along. Every time I
That's
learn more.
that's great. That's awesome. Now, you have a favorite reader, um, Marilyn Loden. Is that
I
correct?
do.
The Glass Ceiling.
Oh, yes, I love her work.
Yes, she wrote the book in 1978.
The Glass Ceiling. Oh, I thought you were talking about The Glass Castle.
No, this was
I know what you're talking about, The Glass Ceiling, but
yeah.
now where did you get the idea that was my favorite book?
I thought it was. No.
No,
No.
no, but it was a
Okay.
very important book.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes,
And it's true because so many people use that phrase,
yeah.
like, that glass ceiling, they want to go higher, but they can see it, but they can't go anywhere. And
And look how far we've come forward and then gone backwards in the past decades.
isn't
It's
that,
just shameful.
isn't that
Women still
something?
do not get paid the same for this that men do for the same job.
Yeah. It's,
It's wrong.
I think, yeah, there's a lot of things that need to be addressed.
Well, the current administration actually did something I read recently in the news. I think it was for contractors, and I don't want to get too much in politics, but when they do contract work, that there's a requirement that when women get paid equally as the men. So interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I like to say thank you so much, Ruth, for taking the time today, and I wish you the very best. And please keep me informed of your next novels, so I can get you back on the program, and we can.
Okay, I
Yes.
would love that. I've loved talking to you, and I want to hear more ideas on T-shirts.
Yeah. Well, it's not just T-shirts, but I think it's just it could be anything, any merchandising. It could
We
be
could have an Ija doll with a little gold crown on her.
the sky's the limit. It's really, what it comes down to you. It's because what your readers like and the characters, and
Yeah.
so I mean you can do everything from, let's say, buttons to pins to magnets. I mean the sky's the limit. It really is.
I should be handing those out at my book signings.
There you go. So you can say like you buy one book, you get a pin free or
Yeah, and the pins could be really fun that people might actually, wear them again.
Absolutely. Especially for your younger audience, especially relating to the characters, because let's say
Uh-huh.
let's say you want to make a button for and it has your main character's face on it,
Uh-huh.
so they can relate to that character. I think especially if you can do that stuff around the holidays.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
See, there you go,
Look
Ruth.
at all this free advice you're giving me. I love it.
The thing is, it's everybody can do it, and it's just like this kind of conversation where you were networking, you're getting
Uh-huh.
ideas, and
Hmm.
I think everybody has that open slate, and it's just taking it to that next level.
Hmm.
And I think, besides like marketing, and I think that's where the like writers get stuck. Just okay, I wrote my book, I'm gonna sell my book. That's it.
Yeah,
But
we
but
do get stuck in that
but
scenario.
but there's so much beyond that though.
And it
You
can
know.
be fun. Yeah.
Oh, it's supposed to be, especially when you're
Yeah.
like self-publishing. Oh, I mean, you're in complete control. It's your business.
I'm going to have buttons for my next event.
You should. And
I'm
when
going to
you're
have
doing that,
those
you
for my
wear
next
them
event.
too. Wear them to
Yeah.
show them
Oh,
and make
absolutely. I love it.
signs showing, what the button is. Let's say you buy 2 books, you get the button free, or
I love it.
there's all
I
kinds of
love it.
good things out there. Well, Ruth, I thank you again so much, and please keep in touch because I like to get you back on the program and we can talk more about your books and see how your marketing strategy is going.
Exactly.
That's wonderful. Well, Ruth,
All right.
again, thank you so much, and you have a
Thank you.
wonderful day, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you, Brad. You too.
You're very welcome, Ruth. Okay, bye bye.
Bye.